Happy Saturday. Oh my God, that's a lot of snow. All right, on today's shows, some recommendations for you. More on tariffs and why they're happening. And then next week is the inflation announcement for January. I'm going to give you my prediction right at the end of the video. First up, some recommendations. Head over to that other video platform, YT, and look up Nomad Capitalist and that video, The Death of U.S. Power. Now let me prepare you. Nomad Capitalist, as the name implies, very right-leaning. And he sees what's happening in the United States as a fantastic opportunity for him. He moves people out of the U.S. to other lower tax environments. He thinks what Trump is doing is great because his business will be booming. All right, if you saw yesterday's conspiracy theory video, I recommend you look up the name Curtis Yarvin. Also goes by the name Mencius Moldbug. If you read up on this, yesterday's conspiracy theory video ceases to be a conspiracy theory. All right, every day we're getting tariff news. Now, Trump says auto tariffs to come in around April 2nd. About 50% of the cars sold in the United States are manufactured within the country. The other 50% come from Canada, Mexico, and the other countries. Now, I get it. On the surface, you think, well, this is fantastic. People will just buy that other 50% that's built in the country. No. It's worth saying this again, that the big three have integrated their supply chains between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Why? Well, first there was NAFTA, and then that got renegotiated and became the USMCA, and now that's being renegotiated again, although it's not. These companies are not going to move production to the United States, okay? That's a huge investment. They're not going to make that huge investment into an unstable situation, which is what Donald Trump has created. Oh, he's just doing this because of the border. So on that topic, $5.3 million Black Hawk helicopters patrol Canada-U.S. border. And one of them's over here near my house. It's not at all intimidating watching a Black Hawk helicopter fly over your house. RCMP Chief Superintendent Chris Leather detailed the vital role that the Air Patrol play in monitoring Ontario's borders. We have over 2,700 kilometers of border stretching from Cornwall in the east through the Great Lakes to Lake of the Woods in the west. 1 kilometer of that is land border. Apparently the migrants are fantastic swimmers. And it's like Miami Vice. I guess there's just cigarette boats racing across the lake. My name is Tony Montana. Say hello to my little friend. I guess he'd have a Wisconsin accent, wouldn't he? Anyway, it's going to operate out of Toronto. You know, where our illegal immigrants are flying into the airport. Look, I'm all for enhanced border security, but if you think this is the reason why we're getting tariffs, you got to give your head a shake. All right, smart guy, why do you think it is? Tax cuts. Because the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that Trump put in place in his first term, that expires at the end of this year. Yeah, you remember how all those Americans were complaining about their taxes going up? It went up because the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of Donald Trump. It had nothing to do with Joe Biden. They're not smart enough to know that. Anyway, so this expires at the end of 2025. And he's looking to cut taxes even more. And his plan is to make up the shortfall with tariffs on everything. As I said off the top, go here, watch this video. If you're left-leaning, brace yourself. He does talk about the isolationist tendencies of the United States, and he says if that's what they want to do, okay, other countries don't need them. All right, the inflation report comes out next week. As always, I like to compare my forecast with RBC's. Now, the tax holiday was still in place for January, and if you'll recall, in December, RBC was expecting 1.5% inflation for December, but it came in at 1.8%. I was expecting the 2.2. I didn't think the tax holiday would make that big of a difference, but it did. For January, RBC is expecting 1.7% inflation. I'm expecting 1.9% inflation. The story here is gasoline. Gasoline was more expensive in January of 2025 than it was in January of 2024. And most of that was because of the tariff threats. Now, moving forward with all these tariffs in place and counter tariffs, et cetera, what's that going to do? It's probably going to increase prices. Will that increase rates? No. Why won't it increase rates? Because the Bank of Canada understands that this is all happening because of tariffs, not because of the economy. So expect the rate cuts to keep on coming as our economy slows down. It's going to take time for us to find other partners to trade with because it looks like we're not going to be trading with them for the next 4 years at least.